Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success.
Today on Expedition Networking, we have Devapriya Khanna. She's a leadership brand strategist, business mentor, global speaker, and a community builder. Through her venture, 212 Degree Brand Lab, which is a brand consultancy firm, and Connexus, which is a business networking community for entrepreneurs and executives, she empowers corporate and business leaders to grow their income, influence, and impact by building memorable personal brands. She also serves as a state president, Haryana Mentoring and Soft Skills Council of the Women's India Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In her pre-entrepreneurial career, Devapriya has dedicated 18 years to the corporate world as a marketing and brand specialist, building powerful brands and leading high-performing global teams, combining her extensive corporate leadership experience with her proprietary, actionable business strategies and mindsets and tools and techniques. Devapriya strives to provide strategic direction and consultancy to ambitious professionals who are deeply invested in building their purposeful and authentic leadership brand. Devapriya, thank you for your patience. We've been struggling with technical difficulties here. Can you start out and I know you've given us this introduction, give us your journey, how you got to this place in time. And I will tell our listeners, she's a world away. So
thank you so much, Frank, for having me. We've been speaking for a while now, and it's honestly a pleasure for me to be here with you today. I am a world away. I'm originally from India. At this moment, I'm at Cambridge in the UK, but thanks to technology, we're all linked, and it's a wonderful feeling. So once again, thank you for having me. And to answer your question, let me start with a little lesson in physics. So at 211 degrees Fahrenheit, water is hot. And at 212 degrees, water boils. And with boiling water comes steam. With steam, you can power a locomotive. And it's all about that one extra degree. This is something that I've always believed in right from the beginning of my professional journey. And entrepreneurship came to me late in life. For many years, I followed the conventional path and built a very successful and rewarding corporate career. I did my MBA, joined a reputed multinational company as a management trainee, and learned a lot about branding and marketing in my first job. And then moved on to another brilliant opportunity. And so it continued. You know, the corporate juggernaut kept rolling on, and I kept moving from one opportunity to the other. The journey up the corporate ladder was not very predictable, but was very rewarding, and I got opportunities to launch many brands and products. Now, what happened was while doing so, I started developing an entrepreneurial mindset. And it was we continued in the corporate world, we continued with what was typically so many years back, unpredictable, yet it was safe. It was a safe zone. But then, after maybe 18 years, the entrepreneurial bee in my bonnet buzzed a little too loudly, and I had to pay cognizance to it. I had to do something about it, but I was unsure. So finally, in 2013, I decided to slow down and go on a sabbatical. So that's when the change started happening. What was meant to be a short break turned out to be a permanent break from the corporate world, because during this break, I tasted the magic of entrepreneurial life and of being your own boss. I decided to launch my own brand consultancy firm, 212 Degrees Brand Lab, which you've mentioned about in your introduction. And I turned my focus to helping build individuals as brands. So that's what my journey has been. And the sheer satisfaction of watching my first couple of clients transform into the best version of themselves was so deeply fulfilling that I've never looked back upon my corporate career. Yes, I did have moments when I was doubtful and wanted to go back to my comfort zone, which was typically the corporate world, with your safe salaries and the travel and the global networking and all of that. But here I am, 6 years down the line, building my branding business, growing and taking my practice to new levels. So coming back to the physics lesson, at 211 degrees, water is hot, and 212 degrees, it boils. And with boiling water comes steam. With steam, you can power a locomotive. It's all about that extra degree, and that's what my brand consultancy is called. And this is the story of how I transformed my experience of building big corporate brands into my entrepreneurial venture of building people as brands.
I guess the question I would have is, how is using professional relationships different from your corporate world to your entrepreneurial world? I mean, for me, it's been a long time since I was employed, so you probably have a fresher recollection of the difference. And what was there a
So
difference?
there is a difference, and I don't think there is too much of a difference. At the same time, you use networking even in the corporate world, but at that stage it was more about who you knew and your bosses and your peer community. Looking back, we were networking instinctively, but we were not networking in a very strategic way. At least I wasn't, and my peer group wasn't. But there was a lot of networking. It was people who you knew. It was conferences that your company nominated you to attend. It was global connections within your organization and within your ecosystem, and you didn't really feel the need to step out and venture into finding somebody new, or thinking that your career depended on external networking. However, what I see as an entrepreneur now is that there are three things that I do typically around professional networking, and I've become a lot more strategic about it. I've actually started using networking as a tool in my marketing arsenal, and I'll tell you how. I do it in three ways. So, firstly, for me, networking is all about providing value. I believe in building meaningful connections to see how I can contribute to someone's business or career, or even to their life, by connecting them with someone or helping them with something that I can provide. And this is very important to me, so important that I've launched my own networking community for business owners called Connexus, where we are constantly trying to create value for our members. And I'm soon launching a global community for women speakers across the world, which will again look at providing a lot of value. So, straight up, I think to me, the most important thing is to provide value. The second thing that I use networking for, or I depend on networking for rather, is learning. And ongoing learning is very important to me. It's a passion. So, learning from people in my network is a passion with me. I love meeting new people who are solopreneurs, coaches, spiritual entrepreneurs, speakers, experts in their own fields, learning what they have to teach and sharing my own message with them. And for me, this never ending swap of life lessons is just so important. Yeah. And thirdly, of course, networking is a tool, as I mentioned, for my business growth. And like so many other entrepreneurs, I use networking as a great way to acquire new business leads and referrals. In fact, most of my new business comes through recommendations.
Can you remember the point where you really recognized that relationships mattered? I mean, we have the saying here that it's not what you know, it's who you know. But as growing up, we get so fixated on we got to learn, we got to learn, we got to learn, and being smart is everything. And at some point, you realize, okay, that everybody's smart. It's really about the people around you.
I think instinctively one has always known that relationships are very important, and when you come from a place like India where family systems are so solid and your support group and your extended family is so large, you tend to fall back on relationships as part of everything that you do. It is your safe zone, and you know that your expected, your tradition expects you to cultivate relationships. But when you're talking, especially in the context of professional relationship building, I would say that way back in business school was when I learned about it, about the value. And when I was doing my MBA, that's where I learned the value of connecting beyond business. Living through challenges together on campus, having a shared history led to building deeper connections with peers. Taking up leadership roles while doing my business studies helped me establish connections with faculty members and corporate leaders, which paid off later in my career. And this is where I learned the importance of being a giver and the value that it reaped later on in life.
All right, here's a fun question. What do you do to get your mind off of work? What do you like to do for fun?
So that's a very pertinent question, because it's been a while since I've really been able to unwind. I've been traveling a lot, but just sitting down amidst nature with soothing music and a cup of coffee, I think does it for me. I also love to meditate and make it a point to squeeze in at least 15 minutes of meditation every day, no matter which part of the world I'm in, or what I'm doing, and it's really important for me.
Okay. One more fun question. How many unread emails do you generally have sitting on your laptop or in your email?
Would you believe it if I said none?
Okay.
Because I'm a bit obsessive. Yeah, I'm a bit obsessive about clearing my inbox, and I like everything to be kind of unread, and I store them away in my folders. So a little bit of an OCD going on there.
Well, I do believe it, because I'm the same way. I might not act on everything, but I read it and just kind of know what's there, and then determine the priority, because some are quick responses and some just need a little more thought, and I'm not always in that position to think. So what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself? I know you have a daughter who's off at university, or college as we call it. What networking advice are you giving her, or what would you give yourself, a young version of yourself?
Yeah, it's really a good time to ask me this question, because I have an 18-year-old who's at university right now, second day of university, I would say, and I'm telling her to take it slow, and I'm telling her that focus on building the relationship and don't focus on immediate results. And I'm telling her to be a giver, provide more value to others than what you expect in return. It's not magic. Do your bit and let your karma do the rest. So that's what I tell myself so many years down the line. It's been a while since I was 18, actually, and now this is what I'm telling her as well, as she steps into the big bad world.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's great advice. I wonder if I would go back in time, if I would listen to myself, but I think that's wonderful advice. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. I know there's a time difference, but it's great seeing you and great talking to you.
It's been great talking to you, Frank. As always, you've asked me some wonderful questions, and you've actually provided a lot of food for thought. I think I'm going to be thinking about some of the things that you've spoken today, and yeah, it's going to give me a good evening, I'm sure. So thank you for having me on your show, on your podcast, and I look forward to staying connected.
Likewise.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.